to become educated, self-sufficient, and responsible citizens. We are committed to providing every student a diverse, quality education within a safe and secure environment through a dedicated, innovative, and highly qualified staff in partnership with parents and the community at large. And, that's our mission statement, but certainly it's always fun when one of those students that we put all that effort into is sitting in the crowd to become an employee of the district. So it's always good to see that going on. Anyway, please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. McMath is excused. Please call the roll.
Mr. France?
Present.
Dr. Fuller?
Here.
Mr. Galentine?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Here.
We have a quorum.
We have a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move.
And a second?
Second.
Any additions, deletions, corrections?
I do have an addendum that I'd like to place on the agenda. It'd be item H under the superintendent's report. And that is to approve the settlement agreement with OPSI regarding salary places of students.
I would ask that under personnel, we remove supplementals for separate consideration, please.
The 22-23 supplemental.
Yes.
On the left on the board, just separate.
Correct. Is there anything else? Please call the roll.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Dr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Galentine?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. We have a motion to approve the minutes from the work session dated May 12th and the regular meeting dated May 16th, 2022.
So moved. I'll second.
Mr. Galentine seconds. Any discussion or corrections? Please call the roll.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. Galentine?
Yes.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Dr. Fuller?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Recognition this evening? None. Public participation. Has anyone signed up for public participation?
None.
And the treasurer's report.
Okay. The first thing I just need to report out that the Briggs Scholarship received a final settlement on the estate a week ago. Actually, when this was set up originally, the son of Mrs. Briggs filed suit against the estate, and they held money back for him because she didn't leave him any money. He previously died. He just died about 8 months ago or something. So we get the balance in that estate, which is $70,201.56, and that's been put into the Briggs Scholarship Fund.
And the Quaker Foundation manages that for us.
The Quaker Foundation does award the scholarships. So within my report, you have the May financial statement, the key indicator, the cash flow, the check register, QDA financial report, QPA financial report, the bank reconciliation, all of those reports in balance. I do have to note one thing on the cash flow and the key indicator. You'll notice that in May there was a lower amount of foundation, and then there's a negative amount down in purchase services. So what happened was, in order to do my forecast, I had to true up basically the new House Bill 110, and we had open enrollments out that we were to pay out, and the ODE took that away from us, and it had to net against our receipts. So the whole thing netted, and we're back in balance. But that was like a true up of House Bill 110. However, everything is in balance. I also have the administrative index to present to you in your folder, the MasterCard points and limits as required by the auditor of state to have the board look at. We have Vincent Managed Services Agreement in the amount of $224,631.26. This is an increase of about $10,000 over last year. I have a resolution to open and maintain a bank account with Huntington National Bank. That will be a new bank on the books. I'm asking for transportation in lieu for Gary Hampton at a rate of $16.14 per day to travel, take his son to summer school in lieu of us transporting. I'd like to accept a donation of a piano valued at $7,000 from Krista Roberts. The Ritchie Athletics project, for the pole vault at the stadium in the amount of $23,591. This is part of the whole big stadium upgrade, but the pole vault I didn't have approved up till now. And then I've also provided the student activities, and I have one correction. I just noticed I have a typo. That should be for 2023. Sorry about that. And there's a whole list in Exhibit N. I did a transfer. I'm requesting a transfer from general to the stadium PI for next year's stadium PI fund. I have an amended certificate for fiscal year 22 and an amended appropriation for fiscal year 22. These are again working on closing fiscal 22. And then in fiscal 23, I'm requesting that we open the books and the certificate of estimated resources be approved, and the permanent appropriations be approved for fiscal 23. And that brings me to a vote. And then I have a separate resolution I need to have approved separately.
Questions for the treasurer?
I have a couple, Julie. So one, on the Briggs Scholarship Fund, can we get updated numbers on the balance of what we have set aside there? Because with the additional amount, I mean, it's super and it'll be helpful to students for sure. But thinking about if we're basing scholarship amounts off of a certain return on the funds, if the funds grow by $70,000, maybe we want to take a look at expanding the amount of scholarships that are offered.
Bet. Awesome. I'll just update all of them.
Okay.
Everything I gave you from prior.
Okay. That'd be great. Thank you. And then I had another question on the student activities funds. Just curious how this works. Are there guidelines or anything in place? I just noticed some of them have a beginning balance that, say there's a beginning balance of $5,000. They're estimating to gain receipts of 10. They're planning on budgeting and spending 10. So the 5 that was the beginning balance remains the 5. Some of them have a bigger disparity than that. You know, there's $20,000 in it. They're planning on raising 15 and they're going to spend 10. So that balance obviously then grows. Are there guidelines that say a certain amount of that needs to be spent? Is there anything to that, or is it just how each group manages it?
Well, a couple things about that.
Okay.
They're doing those budgets in April and May
Okay.
when they don't know their ending balance.
Okay.
So those beginning balances are estimates, which are acceptable. And then what is important for the board is, number one, the description of what they're going to do, because you need to be approving that description. And number two, that the receipts and the budgeted expenditures are within balance. And they are allowed to spend carryover funds.
And there's a carryover. There's no requirement that says it's X% of it. It's just whatever. Okay.
No, and it's seed money. The other thing is, because it's a special revenue account, I can't move any of that money without board approval.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I apologize. Did we ask for a motion and a second on your financial report?
You asked for questions. You just
I skipped way ahead.
asked questions, and now you're ready
Do
to
we
ask
have
for
a motion
motion.
to accept?
So moved.
Mr. Mr. Weaver, and a second.
I'll second it.
Mr. Galantine. Any more questions?
Just real quick, show my ignorance here. As I'm looking down through section S, it has ESSER 507 at 4 million. Is that ESSER money that we've already spent, or is that ESSER money sitting in the bank? And what is that ESSER
It's the
money?
same allocation. So I have to provide you with the allocations that I'm gonna get for federal money, even if they're not spent. Because you have to grant me each year the ability to spend anything within that. So that's the unspent funds, even though it's planned and in progress.
Okay, so we do have it allocated. We just haven't spent it yet.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's not new, that's the same allocation.
Anything further? Please call the roll.
Mr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mr. Galantine,
Yes.
Mr. France.
Yes.
Dr. Fuller,
Jeff, am I allowed to?
you can vote on that.
Abstain. No.
You can vote on mine. There's no QDA information.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Motion carries. The next thing I have is a resolution submitting to the electors. This is our, I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but it is our PI levy renewal. And this had to be called out separately. That's why I have it as a separate motion.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Mr. Galantine, and a second.
Second.
Mr. Fuller. Any questions? Please call the roll.
Mr. Galantine,
Yes.
Dr. Fuller,
Yes.
Mr. France,
Yes.
Mr. Weaver,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, personnel.
We have several personnel items here, starting with a handful of resignations from various positions. We have some summer school hirings. Want to draw your attention to the administration. We're going to hire Michael Watt as our new school psychologist. We were very excited to find him. So we will be hiring him to a 3-year contract. And then our certified hires, as you said, we have Sarah Har here with us tonight. She's going to be a 5th grade teacher at Central Elementary, proud New Philly grad. Hannah Lauk, who is actually now Hannah Walker, married a New Philly grad a week or so ago, is going to join us at 4th grade. And Caitlin Jagunig is going to be an intervention specialist at Welty. She is also a New Philly grad. So lots of Quaker connections there. Several classified, mostly paraprofessionals. Remember, we pulled the supplementals out separately. So skipping to the next page, we have our summer school 2 staff, some student teachers, a substitute bus driver. Always good to get another one of those on the books, and some volunteers and interns. Also want to draw your attention to the fact that we actually have a social worker intern that's going to be working with us next year under the direction of Terry Carpenter. So we are very excited to have an extra person in to help meet the needs of our students. So,
Perfect. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. Weaver, and a second.
I'll second.
Mr. Galantine. Any questions? Please call the roll.
Mr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mr. Galantine,
Yes.
Mr. France,
Yes.
Dr. Fuller,
Yes.
motion carries.
Do we have a motion to approve the 22-23 supplementals?
I'll move.
Mr. Galantine.
My name on it.
And a second.
I'll second.
Mr. Weaver. Any discussion? Has to have that removed. My wife is on the evaluation committee, so I'm going to need to abstain from that vote. Okay, please call the roll.
Mr. Galantine,
Yes.
Mr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mr. France,
Abstain.
and Dr. Fuller.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, Assistant Superintendent's report. Oop. We'll come back to that later.
Get ready.
You're on.
Oh,
You're on it.
yeah, so we're just voting on a couple things with QDA just to kind of do some housekeeping with some verbiage in it.
Good enough.
Yep.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second.
I'll second.
Valentine. Any questions for the assistant superintendent? Please call the roll.
Mr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mr. Galantine,
Yes.
Mr. France,
Yes.
Abstain.
All right, back to facilities committee. Skipped over.
Business Advisory Council, just draw your attention to the fact that those minutes are available online at the ESC website. Facilities Committee, you wanna take that one?
I'll let you handle that for right now.
All right, the biggest, a couple things going on with the Facilities Committee. If you haven't noticed, first of all, the stadium project is underway. So they got started last week, making some good progress. There's drone pictures online if you haven't seen those, so that's pretty exciting. The negative to the Facilities Committee report is that due to the inability to guarantee that we would have the equipment on time, we have had to push off our phase 3 heating and cooling project at the gym and the music wing until the summer of 23, as opposed to this summer. The deadline, the equipment kept getting extended as far as when it was going to be available. And there were just no guarantees that if they got in there and took out our existing heating facilities, that we would have the ability to properly heat it, or put it in the air conditioner or do the roof. So that project is going to be extended now to the following summer when we are guaranteed that we will have that equipment on site. Those are the big items. The other things, facilities, finishing up the other boiler projects, all of those things are being done. Summer maintenance is going on, so things are going well there.
Sounds good.
What's happening at South? The roof, I mean, the yellow flags all over the roof at South.
They're redoing the roof.
I assumed it was.
Yeah, that's part of the phase 2 project.
Okay. I assumed that's what it was, but
That's an OSHA thing, the flaggage to.
Yeah.
I think they've already power washed it, right?
I believe so, but
Something like
I have
that.
not.
There's a
caught
lot
up
of
with-
stuff going on all
There's a
over the
lot
district.
of stuff going on.
that was approved. I believe that was approved in maybe October or November.
never build a flat roof house in Ohio. Any other building in Ohio.
Seems wise.
I'm sorry.
That's wisdom.
Thank you. Old age.
Very good. Okay, then, are there any other committee reports? Moving on to the superintendent's report.
I have several items here. The first one, I want to talk just a second about approve a resolution to support the Accelerated Appalachian School Building Assistance Program. And this resolution really came out of the Coalition of Rural and Appalachian Schools, which is an organization of 120 school districts in southeastern Ohio. And this coalition is advocating for the needs of those schools in the Appalachian area who have not yet had a facilities project. And what we have come to find out is that there has been a advocacy group for the urban schools across the state, going back to when the Facilities Commission first came into play. And basically what happened with that is they got jumped to the front of the line and their facilities were replaced at a much faster rate than they would have if we'd just gone down the normal order. So the Coalition of Rural and Appalachian Schools is working to do a similar thing for the 38 Appalachian school districts that have not yet had a facilities program, and New Philly is one of those 38 school districts. So by approving this resolution, we are basically jumping on board with the advocacy of this. It doesn't commit us to anything, it doesn't promise anything, but it provides support to this resolution that they will then use when they advocate for these districts with the legislators. So asking you to approve that resolution tonight. Also want to approve the preschool handbook, the Welty handbook, and the high school student handbook, as well as the high school internship manual for next year, and approve the non-routine field trip for our 8th graders to go to Washington, D.C. in May of 2023.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. Weaver, in a second.
I'll second.
Mr. Galantine. Questions for Ms. Wentworth? Okay, please call the roll.
Mr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mr. Galantine,
Yes.
Mr. France,
Yes.
Dr. Fuller,
Yes.
motion carries.
Item G.
Item G, would ask that you approve the negotiated agreement with OPSI. We had a great negotiations process earlier this month, and in a day and a half came to an agreement on a new 3-year contract. Again, I just want to provide kudos to everyone who was on the negotiating team, both for the board and for OPSI. It was a very respectful, professional process, and I think everyone felt pretty good about the product when we walked away.
Motion to approve.
I'll move.
Galantine, and a second.
Second.
Dr. Fuller. Questions? Comments?
I just want to thank the administration and leaders of both unions this year. It's got to be the easiest, fastest negotiations I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot.
Kudos to the unions. I absolutely give them all the credit.
Both sides, you guys did wonderful.
Agreed. Anything else? Please call the roll. Whoop.
Nope, all good.
Okay, please call the roll.
Mr. Galantine,
Yes.
Dr. Fuller,
Yes.
Mr. France,
Yes.
Mr. Weaver,
Yes.
motion carries.
Item H.
Item H is approve the settlement agreement with OPSI regarding salary placement of bus drivers. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second.
I'll second.
Galantine. Any questions? Please call the roll.
Mr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mr. Galantine,
Yes.
Mr. France,
Yes.
Mr. Fuller.
Yeah.
Motion carries.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Dr. Fuller. Is there a second?
Now we won't stay.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming. Congratulations and welcome.